Hey there YouTube, I'm going to show you one of my all-time favorite Hipcamp spots in Middle Tennessee. Maybe in my top 3, definitely in my top 5. It's hard to say for sure, but I'm looking directly at the sun right now to get you this shot of this place in just a second, so I don't want you to think I'm too cool for school with these sunglasses on. These are my prescription glasses. They turn this color. So I'm not too cool for school, I'm just blind as a bat. So I apologize for the rock star aesthetics. Let me show you this Hipcamp spot because it's one of the best things ever. On Hipcamp, this is called East Tennessee Hilltop Campsite. And I'll put a link to the Hipcamp listing in the description of this video so you can check it out. As you can see, it's just a vast area and it's all yours. When you reserve this site, there is no other campers around. You reserve this entire patch of land. I don't know how many acres are here. I would guess 10 or 15 acres or something like that. This whole hillside is yours. And then there's the long driveway that goes down to the road. To the left and the right of that driveway is all yours as well. So you've got just an unheard of amount of space all to yourself up here. And it's very private, even though there are houses around. I think the houses are probably like a quarter mile away. I mean, you could see them in the distance, but there are no houses within proximity of the site itself. So it's very unique for that reason alone. Okay, I came over here in the shade. It is hot, believe it or not. It's March 10th right now, and it's got to be about 70 degrees right now. It was nice and cloudy earlier today. The sun came out in the last hour, and it's just heated this whole place up. Let me tell you a little bit about the site itself, give you some of the facts. You got 30 amp electric, and you got water. You don't have sewage. So there's no dump station here, nothing like that. So whatever's in your tanks, you're going to be taking that with you when you leave. Likewise, there's no trash cans here. So any trash that you have, whatever you pack in, you pack out. They give you a gas grill, so you got a grill in case you want to use their outside grill instead of your own stuff, which is nice. Cell signal. Cell signal here is really, really, really strong. I got 4, sometimes 5 bars with Verizon, so the cell signal is just outstanding. I've been running my mobile hotspot perfectly fine, able to stream video, watching YouTube on my television inside the camper without any issues at all. So cell signal is really good. You got a picnic table with a gravel pad. Gravel driveway here for the camper. So something that it's called Hilltop Campsite. So I should just clear the area. It's on a hilltop. I mean, on the top of a hill. So I was here about 3 years ago when I was driving a 4Runner, towing my 16BH with a 4Runner. And it was a little bit difficult getting up the hill. I mean, I made it just fine, but it was a bit harrowing, I should say. They've done some repair work on the driveway, so the gravel road that comes up here is better than it was 3 years ago, but there's still some ruts on the side from water erosion. My trailer is 8 foot wide, so I didn't have any trouble with an 8 foot wide trailer. I was just very cautious where I put my tires, and I'm towing with a pickup truck that's got a V8 engine, so it just got up the hill without any issues at all. Besides that, there is nothing I could say that would dissuade anybody from wanting to come here. Here in Tennessee, where we don't have, BLM land, I mean, there's really no public land here that you can just camp wherever you want. To get this level of privacy and having this much space all to yourself is unheard of in Middle Tennessee. So, yeah, this place is just fantastic. Let me just walk around a little bit and just kind of show you some stuff here on the East Tennessee Hilltop Campsite. So when you arrive, I'm not going to give you the address of this place. If you book it, you'll get the address. But when you arrive, there's a gate that you open. That's your gate. There's 2 driveways. So there's a driveway to the left with one gate, and there's a driveway to the right with a red gate. The red gate is yours for this site. There's 2 properties here. The one on the left, nobody lives there, but there's livestock. And I met the people that care for those livestock. They're just here a couple hours each day to feed and water their animals, and that's it. There's no houses there or anything like that, but that's why there's 2 driveways. This is probably all, at one time was probably all one property that was separated. But you open up the red gate, make sure you close it behind you, and then you just head up the driveway. And you could see me driving up through my dash cam, and you could just see for yourself. It's not bad. There's like a couple little bumps that you'll go over. Just take it slow, watch where you put your tires, and you should have no trouble at all. But you go down this long straight line, then you go down a little hill, you go up a little hill, then you go up a big hill and make a big sharp bend. Not a sharp bend. I'm making this sound worse than it is. It is not that bad. You make a nice wide arc of a bend, a very gradual curved drive up this hill around, and then you'll pull straight into the site. So I guess if I were to try to think of something else critical to say is you have to turn around up here. So when I stayed here last time, 3 years ago, I pulled in just like I'm pulled in now. And then I hooked up my truck to or in that case, my 4Runner to my camper. And I just backed myself around in the grass and stuff like that and made my way out. Like instead of a 3-point turn, it was like a 10-point turn to get out of here, because it is on a hill. So you don't want to back your trailer up over the hill. That could be disastrous. So that's my plan for this as well. And I guess I'm telling you that because if you had a really, really long trailer, if you were towing something that was like 30 or 40 foot long, that may be a bit more complicated for you. My trailer's 17 foot, so it's pretty nimble. That's like the only other thing I could say that is slightly critical of this place is there's just not a lot of room to turn around up here. Just take your time and be patient with it, and it's not that big of a deal. Ricky likes it up here quite a bit because he could see for miles, more or less. He likes looking out over the hillside. So he's out there just sunning himself right now, and you can see that's the grill and the water and the electric hookups. And then there's your picnic table. I am behind my camper right now because of the shade. And you can see my truck over there, and you can see my trailer. And you do have a fire ring as well. I forgot to mention that. There's a fire ring here, and then all of this just kind of looks out over this hillside. You can see the mountains way in the distance, and then just beautiful rolling hills, just farmland in every direction. And then if you look down here, I'm kind of going against the sun right now, so hopefully you could see this, but you can kind of make out the two driveways. From this perspective, the one on the left is our driveway up here. That's the one with the red gate. The one on the right that goes to all that pasture is for the farm that's over there. And like I said, nobody lives there. Those houses that you see in the distance are on the other side of the road, and nobody lives in any of those ones that are down by the road, but that one up on the hill is where somebody lives. So you can see up here on the top, this driveway is nice and smooth. There's no ruts, nothing. And then here's all the space. You can kind of see from the other tire tracks here, this is most likely where people turn around. It's pretty much level there. So what I'll probably do is, and what I'd recommend you do, I guess, as well, is back your trailer on down here. And then just right where all these tire marks are, back it up there. And then pull on out forward, right on down the hill. In terms of bumps, this is really the only big bump. You just got to go slow. It's not going to look like much of a bump here on camera, but there's just a little bit of a hiccup right there and a little bit of a ditch right there. I would say, I don't know, 4 or 5 inches. 4 or 5 inches high over here, 4 or 5 inches low over here. That's the worst. But the rest of it, I'm going down the hill right now just to give you some perspective. This is the hill I'm going down. It may not look like much of a hill on camera, but it is a hill. And you can see it's perfectly smooth for all this. And then in terms of ruts, this is like a little Grand Canyon over here. So you don't want to drive into that. That would be a disaster. But you could see how much space you got all the way across here. So it's just don't be stupid. Don't fall in the hole. You've got, I don't know, this is probably a good 10 inches of gravel. I'm sorry, 10 feet of gravel. And then it's just grass over here anyway. So as long as you're careful, you're not going to fall in. And then here's a shot of that straightaway up by that white house in the distance. That's on the other side of the road. That's the red gate. And then just to give you some perspective, here's that bend I said. It's not a sharp bend. It's a nice gradual, gentle curve. And then you can see my trailer up on the hill there. And then in terms of ruts, this is probably the worst spot. Again, my camper is 8 foot wide. I had no trouble. But you can see it's a little bit of a gradual slope on the left, and then a larger drop off on the right. If you're careful, it's really no big deal. There's a donkey and a cow. That donkey does not like dogs. The cow does. The cow's name is Callie. And the cow was raised with dogs. It thinks it's a dog, but it doesn't like, well, Ricky doesn't like it, is what it is. The cow wanted to be nice to Ricky, but Ricky couldn't get along with it because Ricky's oh, I don't know. Sometimes he could be a little bit intellectually subnormal, I guess is the nicest way to put it. And you got some more cows over here. You can see that driveway is the other driveway I was talking about earlier. And there's a few horses up here near the road as well. Just to give you perspective on how much property you have here if you reserve this, I'm standing at the gate. So you got from Ricky all the way up this long, long driveway. Along those evergreen trees, you make a left, head on up the hill. That black patch you see is a burn. They were burning part of the field the other day. Up beyond that burn, you can see my camper, little white speck way in the distance. So these horses heard me talking to the camera and they came over. They want some attention, but they will not get any attention as long as this guy's around. He wants to fight him. He wants to fight two horses with another horse in the background as backup. Down here at the bottom of the hill in this wide open field. Again, this is all yours if you stay here. I don't know how to explain this. Walking up this hill, you can see that's where I came up the hill, right? There's a fragrance here coming from that direction, and it's like gingerbread. I swear it's gingerbread. And you can tell by the length of our shadows here that it's dinner time, so maybe I just got food on my mind, but gingerbread is being blown from that direction. It's distinctly gingerbread. And I haven't had a gingerbread cookie in many years, but it's one of those unique scents that's what it's got to be, gingerbread. I can't explain it, but trust me, if you stay here, tell me if you end up staying here, if you smell gingerbread on the top of this hill. So as far as other things to do around here, there's quite a bit, especially if you're an outdoors kind of a person like me. The nearest town is Greenville. Greenville is about, I think maybe 10, 15 miles from here, more or less, maybe less than that, but it's about 10 or 15 minutes anyways. And you get all the shops, all the restaurants, whatever you need, facility-wise, you got in Greenville. But we're right here on the Tennessee and North Carolina border. So all those mountains that you saw in the background earlier in this video, there's just everything you want trail-wise. Hiking trails, fishing, hunting, off-roading, all of that stuff is just right here. So there's quite a lot to do. Like I said, I've been here before, so I try to do some different trails than I did when I was here 3 years ago, with one exception. So we went to 3 waterfalls while we were here. The first waterfall we went to is called Margaret Falls. Of the 3, I'm mentioning that first because I think it was the prettiest of the 3, and it was also the most accessible of the 3. The trail was nice and wide. There were steps to get up and down everything, bridges where you needed bridges. You don't have to walk through water or anything like that. It's a very accessible waterfall without a lot of strenuous activity. So of the 3, if you're coming here and you wanted to see a waterfall, Margaret Falls is probably the best. And it's not so far. It's only about 30 minutes from the campsite, so it's the closest as well. Beyond Margaret Falls, there's another waterfall called Bailey Falls. And Ricky and I tried our darndest to get to Bailey Falls, but we simply could not. Here's the other thing too, is a lot of the trails and stuff in this area are kind of wrecked from the hurricane that happened last year. The trail to Margaret Falls has been cleared, so it's perfectly accessible, like I said. Some of the other ones are not so much. So the trail that would go from Margaret Falls to Bailey Falls, maybe we couldn't find it because of the downed trees, or we got to a point where we think that you maybe just had to walk through the stream to get to it. And it was a cold morning and I didn't have the right shoes for that. And it wasn't right. I could have pursued it, but I guess I'm telling you all that to tell you that even though we couldn't get to Bailey Falls, the process of going from Margaret to where we believe Bailey was still a beautiful hike with a lot of little small cascades along the way. Everything about that area is just outstanding. So Margaret Falls, put it on top of your list. The second waterfall we visited was Pete's Branch Falls. We attempted to get to Pete's Branch Falls via Old Forge Recreation Area, but the road to Old Forge was closed. But we did find another access point called Horse Creek Recreation Area, which is basically just down the hill and off to the right a little bit from Old Forge. Horse Creek, we got there on a Sunday morning and there wasn't anybody around, but by the time we were coming back, that place was packed. Once everybody got out of church, they all went to Horse Creek, I think. There's a bunch of trails at Horse Creek though. So we chose Pete's Branch just because it was a bucket list sort of a thing. The process of getting there was quite a bit more complicated than Margaret Falls. So from the parking lot to, there's almost like a road that you walk along, which is nice and wide without any issue. That was no problem. But once it started to fork off into all these little subsidiary, is that the right word? Subsidiary? The little branches from the main trail, that's where things got a bit hairy. The signs weren't there. It wasn't very well marked. And then we got to one point where there was just so many trees across the trail. We couldn't see the blazes and we just had to, like, there was points where I was almost on my knees crawling underneath all these trees. I had a backpack on and Ricky was really struggling, hopping over branches, going under branches, just worming our way through all of these downed trees. But eventually we did get to Pete's Branch Falls. Even though that recreation area was packed by the time we would have got there, nobody else was making that trek. They were all just kind of hanging around the picnic area and stuff. So we had this Pete's Branch Falls entirely to ourselves. We didn't see anybody on the way back until we got to the recreation area either. And it was very, very pretty, kind of almost like a little, like a slot canyon sort of a feeling. Very tall waterfall. And again, remote, quiet, peaceful, just a very, very beautiful setting. And then the third waterfall we visited was Mary Falls. So 3 falls first names. I don't know why all these waterfalls are named after someone's first name. You got Margaret, Pete, and Mary. Mary Falls was the hardest of the 3 to get to. It was just, quite honestly, it was a bit of a miserable trek. The waterfall itself was very pretty once we got there. It was not as tall as the other 2, maybe 20, 25 foot tall. There was nobody else on the trail the entire time. We walked about 2.5 miles to it and 2.5 miles back. Again, lots of down trees, lots of climbing over stuff to get through. And it was a steep downhill the whole way. So it was basically all downhill to get to it. And then of course, all uphill to come back. So Mary Falls of the 3 was the least pretty and the least accessible. And I am in no hurry to return to Mary Falls. Here's the other thing. We did all 3 of these in the same day. So it was about a 14.5 mile hiking day when you added up everything all together, the 3 hikes there and just little bits here, little bits there. So by the time we were doing Mary Falls, it was already late in the afternoon and Ricky and I were both exhausted. So I really pushed Ricky hard on that Mary Falls trip. And I kind of feel bad for that, but he was a champ. He did it. And I think he had fun despite how challenging it was for him. So all 3 of those waterfalls were new to me. I'd never been to any of those before. We did go to one place that I have been before called Max Patch. Max Patch is a little bit far. It's about 1 hour and 15 minutes from the campsite. And there's just a outstanding gravel road. Round Mountain Road is the name of it. I want to say it's about 11 or 12 miles. Just snaking back and forth, just with like a drop off on one side going up this mountain. Really, really wonderful gravel road. Takes you all the way up to Max Patch. But anyways, Max Patch is just this clearing on top of this hill, and it basically straddles North Carolina and Tennessee. And when I was at Max Patch 3 years ago, it was in the fall, and it was probably on a weekend because there was people everywhere. We couldn't even find a place to park. There were so many people. And we had the entire place to ourselves. It was a Monday morning, didn't see a single person the entire time. There's a trail that goes all the way around Max Patch. So you could just make a loop around it, or you could walk up to the top, to the peak of it if you want to see the best, see the best views from the top, obviously. And you can make it as long of a hike, as short of a hike as you want. So we did half of the loop around, then we went up to the top, had this just clearing all to ourselves. It was wonderfully overcast in the morning as well. So it just was, it was just a very serene experience being up there with no people. And it wasn't windy. Sometimes you're up there and the wind is so strong that it's almost annoying. There was basically no wind at all. So we walked there, then we took another side trail, which actually is the Appalachian Trail. The Appalachian Trail crosses over Max Patch. Took that down around to some old logging road, and then took that back down to this pond that was at the base of Max Patch. I think it's called Max Patch Pond, if I'm not mistaken. And we kind of hung out around there a little bit and then made our way back up to the parking lot. And that was like a 4.5 mile walk, making that loop like that, which I think was the best way to experience that. because you got to have a little bit of both. And that part of the Appalachian Trail is actually really cool. There's sections of the Appalachian Trail that go through like a tunnel of these trees that they've just kind of grown into like a conical tunnel that you're walking through. That was a really, really cool experience. So yeah, Max Patch, I definitely recommend it. Be prepared if you're, I guarantee you, if you go to Max Patch in the summer or in the fall, and if you're there on a weekend, it's going to be a parking lot of people. So my experience having it empty like that is very rare. It's got to be rare. I can't imagine it not being rare, because just if you look at the reviews of the place, if you look at the pictures that people have posted from up there, there's always just crowds and crowds of people. All right, that's it. I appreciate you watching this video. I've been sitting in the shade here talking to you for like the last 15 minutes, and these things are still dark, so I don't know what to tell you about that. I'm not too cool for school. Maybe too cool for the bingo hall was about it. But thanks for watching this video. This place here that I'm staying at is amazing. East Tennessee Hilltop Campsite. Like I said, I'll put a link to the Hipcamp listing in the description of the video so you could check it out and make your own reservation if you want. And everything around here is just gorgeous. It's just a beautiful, beautiful part of the country. So once again, thanks for watching the video. I do appreciate it, and I hope that I see you in the next one.